Any second now we will. Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal. And I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Welcome, Bruce.
Hey, David.
So some news, Bruce. Maybe not the kind we were hoping. We've been looking for lots of transactions in the NHL. Some player called Kevin Hayes that hardly anyone had ever heard of signed a 7-year, $7.1 million a year deal. Erik Karlsson's back with the San Jose Sharks. I think he signed for $1 billion a year, if I'm not mistaken. And Jesse Puljujärvi's agent says that Puljujärvi wants a trade out of Edmonton. So let's, I'll get you the exact quote. This is by way of Tommy Seppala, a Finnish NHL correspondent for a Finnish publication. And he quotes Puljujärvi's agent, Markus Lehto. It doesn't make sense to go back where we were last season. It's not good for either side. Discussions about parting ways have been going on for weeks already. Jesse needs a fresh start, and it's nothing against the Oilers. So, Bruce, what do you make of it? Is this the end of Jesse Puljujärvi in Edmonton?
Nothing against the Oilers, eh? I'd be shocked if they had nothing against the Oilers. If I was in the Jesse Puljujärvi camp, I think I would have something against the Oilers because of the way that whole situation's been handled has not been good.
Oh, he's being diplomatic.
Frankly, I think the agent himself needs to look in a mirror too when it comes to that, because some of the terms they negotiated originally about minimum games played and so on, I don't think that served the interest of his client.
Yeah, the shocking thing is this whole thing. One of the shocking things in this whole story is Puljujärvi's English. Like the fact that here's this kid, he knows he's coming to play in North America. It's got to be probably a goal that he's harbored for some time, considering what a dominant player he was at early age groups. And many people in Finland study English, and he didn't know English when he came here. And apparently hadn't studied it. So that says something a little bit about Puljujärvi. But when he came here, the Oilers didn't hire an English tutor, and perhaps that says something about the Oilers.
Yep.
It takes two to screw up this badly, is what I'm going to suggest, Bruce.
Yeah,
I think there's blame on, obviously there's blame on both sides. Puljujärvi's agent, Puljujärvi, the Oilers, rushing him, not playing him all constantly with Milan Lucic as his most common line mate for the last years, a player who has, Lucic struggles to make a play and you're playing with Puljujärvi. Puljujärvi's, apparent, inability to fit in on the team and find a role on the team, combined with him flipping back and forth between Bakersfield and flipping all over the Oilers lineup.
Including the press box.
What a mess. What a bloody mess. And this, I don't know. I guess the question now, we've known it's a bloody mess and we've been talking about this for some time, but is anything different now than it was before he said this? Or,
right.
I mean, what do you think? Is there anything really different now?
Yeah, well, my position, I think the last time we spoke was that with the new sheriff in town and the GM and the coach's chair, that maybe that would be enough of a change for Puljujärvi to feel like he was getting a different chance on a different organization without going anywhere. But when I hear some of these sort of rumblings underneath the surface about players on the team not wanting to play with him, and of his inability to really structure his game in an NHL to an NHL standard, and those rumors were rather persistent that the big stars on the Oilers were reluctant to play with this player. So maybe that's why he decides he wants to get away from here and go to some other team where he can, just get a different, completely fresh start. New coach, new manager, new teammates, new sweater, new everything.
It could be a trade of mercy, right? Like maybe it just really is best for Puljujärvi. And I mean, this is obviously what his agent thinks. It's really best for him to move. But here's the problem. I mean, the Oilers invested, from their perspective, it's not the best to move Puljujärvi right now. I think the obvious move is to qualify him. He's an RFA, just qualify him. And say, hey, we want you back. Come play here. We're going to try to make it go. And if you don't, you can go to Europe and see how that goes for a year. Up your value, get more value. So it's not obvious to me that the right move for the Oilers is to trade Puljujarvi, even though it may or may not be the right move. Although, as Ray Ferraro recently said on Jason Gregor's show, the grass isn't always greener for a player.
Right.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yep.
A deal may not work out. So I don't think it's in Edmonton's interest to trade Puljujärvi right now. And I still see a player there, a solid two-way hockey player, NHL player when he gets his game together. So, man, I've been holding out hope that would happen in Edmonton. To me, it does seem less likely though that's going to be the case today. Like this coming out in this very public way right now, it's kind of discouraging and makes me think that
it is. I mean, Holland's already made his pitch to the guy, and if the attitude is still that hardcore and we want to move, then I mean, I guess one alternative is that they could do what they did with Nail Yakupov, hang on to him for an extra year and then trade him for Zach Puchiro. You know, I mean, how long is too long for hanging on to these guys? And at what point do you cut your losses?
Puljujärvi has no more value now than Yakupov had when he was traded, does he? Does he have similar value, right? So it's
maybe a bit more.
Maybe okay, you could probably get a second round pick for Puljujärvi right now, right? You couldn't get a first, I don't think.
I think you could get a young player that's having trouble on some other team, and you could do the, you know, sort of the young, troubled youngster version of Sam Gagner for Ryan Spooner, you know, where you just swap problems and you hope that the change of scenery is what's needed.
Or you could go the Jonathan Drouin route, which Tampa Bay did, and they essentially said, "Suck it up, Buttercup." And they said, you're playing here. And he did. And he greatly increased his trade value in the extra year that he spent there.
Yeah.
And he came back, had his best year, looked like a player for Tampa Bay. In the end, they did trade him.
And Kyle Sergachev. They got
Kyle Sergachev. So I think that's the Oilers' play is it's a version of Suck It Up, Buttercup, where you say, listen, you can play here for the Oilers or you can play in Europe. Either way, go up your value, you know, and we will then move you. But you're gonna have to come through. Now they can't send him to the AHL anymore,
right?
Because he'll be claimed on waivers.
Probably.
Oh, for sure he would be. And so what you do is, if he wants to go to Europe and have a year there, maybe that's the best thing for him anyway. You know, maybe because you can't send him to the AHL. Maybe it really is the best plan just to say, hey, listen, buddy, come on. We'll qualify you. We see your value. If you have a good year in Europe and you still don't want to be moved, but you've upped your value, then we'll trade you. Like if he suddenly became like he went to the KHL or the Finnish league and he became one of the top scoring players, it's a different situation in terms of his trade value. So that's what I think the Oilers, that's what I think their play is. I really think their play is though to try to convince him to come back and work with this player. Like there was Nail Yakupov's first big trade request came in November 2013, Bruce. Igor Larionov made it clear that Yakupov wanted out then, and all 30 he's open to go to any team. The Oilers didn't trade Yakupov. It took he was there essentially for 3 more years after that. So November, he first is having his big trouble with impatient Dallas Aikens.
Oh yeah.
Who benched him 5 games in. It was like a nightmare. It was ridiculous what happened with Yakupov and Aikens. But nonetheless, 3 years later, it took them 3 years for the Oilers to move the guys.
And his value went down in those 3 years. If they'd moved him in 2013, they would have got more than they got for him in 2016, in my opinion.
If they had moved him right then, I mean, he was coming off a season when he had been the leading rookie goal scorer in the NHL, yes. Yakupov. So yeah, if they had moved him right then, they would have got something for him. But maybe that would have been the best move. With Puljujärvi, that time's come and gone, though. I think of moving him for any kind of optimum value. You're better off seeing if he can become a player for your team or if he can up his trade value and moving him then. And so the mission one should be, okay, put a new heads here, Tippett and Kent Holland, see if they can do what the other people failed to do in terms of working with this player to acclimate to North America, to fit in on the Oilers and to fit in on the ice. Because there is an NHL player here. It's just a matter of drawing it out of the kid. And why can't that happen in Edmonton? Well, maybe there's just too much bad blood. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I do know that last year Todd McClellan had him playing, and he was productive at least for a while, and playing on a committed third line with Ryan Strome and usually Lucic. I think that was a common line. Certainly Strome. Much was made about Strome being a mentor for young Puljujarvi and taking him under his wing a little bit. And then, of course, this year in mid-November, they decided it was in Yes's best interest to send him down to Bakersfield for a while, if not a long while. It sounded like it was going to be for a couple months, if not the end of the season. Then all hell broke loose in Edmonton. And first of all, they traded Ryan Strome. Then they fired Todd McClellan. Then Ken Hitchcock came in and said, I'm going to take this young player and make him my own personal project. Let's bring him back up and get him in the lineup, and we'll turn him into an NHL player. Well, great words, maybe an interesting approach, but we didn't really see much progress. He had a tough year. And I mean, from the poor kid's perspective, you think of it, you get sent down, you get told, no, make yourself at home. Bakersfield, they're going to be there for a while. Oops, you're back up in the NHL. Oh, yeah, you got a new coach. Oh, yeah, your best friend, he's gone. Like,
Maybe that was one time when Ken Hitchcock's immense self-confidence, which is usually probably a very good thing for a coach, didn't really serve the player well. They had a process. They finally had him in the minors. He was getting a point a game. He'd been there four games. Maybe they just should have kept him there.
Peter Chiarelli's terrible trading that had, ripples and aftershocks elsewhere in the lineup besides, well, hey, we had a good 3C. Let's get rid of him. But also, in terms of relationships and so on with other players, that trade was a freaking disaster.
Okay, Bruce, I'm gonna ask you a yes or no question. You always dreaded yes or no question, Bruce.
I don't answer them. I'm a politician. I never say yes or no to anything. Fire away.
It's a question we're asking readers on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Should the Oilers trade away Jesse Puljujärvi? Yes or no?
I'm going to say yes.
All right.
It kind of breaks my heart because, he's an easy player to like in principle. I mean, he was such an easy, sort of affable seeming kid with the great smile and the long tongue and, the pizza and all those kind of things. But if he's unhappy, I don't see how that kind of drama is really going to help the team. And is there a way to pull out of it and turn him around? Well, maybe there is, but 3 years later, we're not seeing much sign of it. And last year was a disaster. 9 points, for goodness sake, in 46 games.
Yeah, with a new coach and new GM, and he still wants out. That does speak to like the logical inference then as well. There's
issue with the players,
issue with the other players. So,
what caught my eye, Dave, and this was year before last, and yes, it was playing not too bad. And remember, they went down to Vegas. It was McDavid's 21st birthday. They played a game in Vegas, and then they got a week off. It was like the schedule maker had sort of touched Connor from above and said, we're going to have you celebrate your birthday right in Las Vegas, turn 21, and then we're going to give you a week off. And the team went to the 4 winds. They went to Hawaii. They went to Caribbean. And yes, Puljujärvi went nowhere except home to Edmonton. And he spent the week off in January in Edmonton, skating on outdoor rinks and playing pickup hockey with kids and winning a lot of friends that way. But at the time, I was going, how in the hell does it happen that this young kid hasn't got a friend on the team that's going to say, hey, so you're coming with us and we're going to have a good time in Hawaii or whatever? And it just didn't happen. And it just at the time struck me as being very odd. And
not good.
Yeah. So I don't know and who do you put the blame on? Is it the leadership group? Is it the player himself? I mean, we talked about Nail Yakupov. He had some of those same issues of not really fitting in. He was a different person and he wasn't a party animal, and there never really was much evidence of a bond between the hotshot young high draft choice and the rest of the team. And again, the question is, well, is that on the team? Is it on the guy? Is it on the coaching staff? Is it some combination of circumstances?
Yeah. So, Bruce, we've I've had this Twitter poll up for like 40 minutes here. Already had almost 900 responses. And
Wow.
should the Oilers trade away Jesse Puljujärvi? Yes, 43%. No, 57%. And I'm in the no camp. I don't think it's in Edmonton's interest. And I think they should tell him, okay, we're going to give it one more go with this new coach, and or in Europe, and maybe you can have a combination of both. Where if it's not working on Edmonton, then he can be loaned to Europe this year, and then they'll trade him after that. So that will be my play with. That's what I'd be telling them right now. It's crazy for us to make a move like that. There's no upside for the organization. We still believe in you as a player. We still think you can make it in Edmonton, and we're going to give that a go. And that's a painful thing probably, but if there is some kind of rift or problem on the team, but he's got to fit in on a team anyway. So
well, maybe they don't still believe him as a player. I mean, they could say that. No, I voted sort of conditional yes in that trade him, but if he got something back that's reasonably comparable, and as you say, this is at a low ebb, but there may be a fit with another young, talented player that hasn't quite clicked in another organization yet. So,
like Charlie McAvoy, like in Boston, that kind
of.
Yeah,
that guy never clicked at all. Yeah.
Yeah,
or I'm thinking more of Michael Del Cole, or a high draft pick. That
here's one for you, Bruce. Oli Ualevi from from Vancouver.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually, other than maybe he plays the wrong position, but that kind of guy where he got high expectations, hasn't lived up to them, we'll switch our imperfect fit for yours and see if it clicks a little better in a new place.
Just Google. That's just the last thing we'll do here before signing off. Is we'll take a look at Oli Ualevi. He was drafted 5th overall in 2016, Bruce.
Sure was. He was the next draft pick after Jesse Puljujärvi. And the next pick after that was Matthew Tkachuk.
And I had watched Ualevi in Major Junior that year. I was not a fan.
Yeah.
So he went back to play in Finland. He went back to junior for a year. He played in Finland for a year. And last year he was injured. Mm-hmm. He played with the Utica Comets when he got 13 points in 18 games. But he was minus 12.
Wow.
All right. You heard it here first. Ualevi for Puljujärvi.
Mm-hmm. That'll set the spell checkers alight.
We finally figured out how to spell Jesse Puljujärvi's name and to pronounce it correctly 28% of the time. And we will now have to learn the whole thing, this whole rigmarole again with Oli Ualevi. All right. Thanks, Bruce. Thanks for talking.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.